Okay, let's see, am I live? Let me just see here right now. Let's see. Software. It says that I'm live here. I'm sorry for trying to figure this out. I thought I had this already situated, public. Let's see, create. Let's see here. Lives, upcoming. I think I am live. I'm sorry if I'm messing around here not being live because, you know, I think it's because of the delay. And, oh yeah, I am live. Pretty sure I am live. God, they should really make this. I'm trying to just figure my YouTube link out to make sure I'm actually live. And I'm sorry if, yeah, okay, I'm live. Sorry. Hi, Pitsnip, thank you. Can see and hear you fine. That's great to hear. Okay, great. My name is Linn. This is the Darbin Orvar channel, and welcome to today's live stream. I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is organization and organizing stuff related to workshop tools, just things in general. And you know what is so great about being a builder, a maker, that kind of thing, is that we have the capability to design things around our spaces, around our stuff. And that is like what everyone else in the world, well, not everyone else in the world, but that is something that everybody strives for, right? To find ways to keep our things where they belong, to give everything a home. So I have kind of gathered a bunch of stuff that I want to go over today, past projects, tips, things I've realized after making so many projects related to organization, and I think it is like a recurring theme whenever you build something, right? Is that it often is for a purpose, to hold something, to create, you know, to make something easier, to store something. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to say hi to Nick and Ellie and Whiskey from Alaska. Hi everyone, really great to see some faces here. If you have any tips, any questions, any thoughts on this subject, I would love for you to join me in with comments, and whatever I don't cover throughout this video, I'm gonna make sure I cover towards the end of it. So yeah, now I was thinking about the concept of organization, because I am not an organized person. It may come across as an organized person from videos, but I'm actually a rather messy person, and I feel like I am a person trying to become an organized person, and that is always like the goal, to create something that sorts things and creates a better situation for you, right? And I was thinking the first thing, hello from Louisiana, hello. Let's see, the first thing, okay, I was thinking about something, that organizing stuff can take the shape and form of many different things, right? But there are some reoccurring themes that kind of is universal when it comes to organizing stuff, right? Or when it comes to creating projects based on stuff. To first of all, just kind of assess the situation, right? To see what you have to work with, what's the size and shape of the object that you are trying to organize, and then to pair like with like. And I'm going to go through a couple of examples of this. So if you have things that you use in, you know, like conjuncture with similar things, then you want to keep those things together, right? Bonjour Guillaume, hello from France. And then also, like, what space do you have to work with? Where is this thing going that you are building, creating? How much space do you have to work with to fit all these things together? And then another thing too, a rather important thing, is function, in terms of how do you actually access these things. Now I just put up a video today about a coffee station. Let's see if we can get, I'm just gonna kind of get this going here at the same time. So this piece right here, it was really the fundamental about this project was organizing, and it was around a rather fun subject, coffee, right? What can be more fun than organizing a piece around coffee, designing something around coffee or tea? Because I feel like this is true with whatever subject you are getting into. So you tend to just collect stuff, and then initially you have just a little bit of stuff and it's not a big deal, but then you get more stuff and then you're getting frustrated because it's just a mess. And that's when you come to the point, you come to the realization that you really need a better situation. You need to organize things better. And here in this project, it was primarily that I wanted to organize all of these different tools. Tools, I mean grind, I'm gonna pause it right here. I wanted to organize, equipment. And so taking the size and the height and like that into account. And it's primarily 2 spaces here where that gets to use. Underneath the hutch and above the hutch, and then stuff in the drawers. To make sure everything fits right. But the other thing that I wanted to be think about when making this thing was to not make the mistake of over organizing. Because if you over organize or over design something, especially when it's something that you plan to keep around for a long time, let's say you built this coffee station here, and then you had this idea of you got a kettle, and then let's say you cut out the section on the CNC so that it will fit right in place on the counter, and it's great for 2 years, but then you switch kettle and then it no longer fits, or no longer it's no longer ideal for the situation. That's what I want to avoid. To have it organized, I'm going to go a little bit towards the end here of the video. I wanted to make sure that there were organized parts on this project, but it was still not so organized that you couldn't move things around eventually. You couldn't switch out equipment. So that's really a big deal here, to keep it relatively open-ended for future things. So general sizes, and that's why the espresso machine on there kind of bums me out a little bit, because it was not designed for that. But whatever, it's fine. And another thing, in terms of talking about open-ended organization, if you look at this picture right here, you see that there are trays on the shelf there. And I think that is an excellent example of open-ended organization. Trays, for example, is a great way to corral things that belong to each other and making things look relatively orderly and structured, even though it is kind of still a mess. If you didn't have those trays, it would look much more messy. Plus, with trays, you can take a thing out and bring it back in again. It's kind of like drawers that are more flexible. So I think trays are really, really great. You can bring them out like this that I'm doing right here, take out your filter, take out your cup, and then you can still move them around. So in many ways, when I look at this project, I think, okay, this is like the result of doing, like the end result, of doing a lot of different projects related to storing and organizing things. And here it's kind of like, it's like I can see, looking at the piece, that a lot of things that I might have done things differently in the past, and now I have kind of come to the realization that too much organization is not necessarily a good thing. So loose organization while keeping things, have a home for different things. That's kind of the goal with this video, or with this project. Shall we go towards the shop? I see Mike here says that caring for my wife with dementia doesn't allow for any organization, and I can imagine like that kind of situation makes it like the organization is always based on the situation you're in, right? And I was thinking about this, that another reason why I really like when things have a home is because things tend to go back to where their home is. So the goal for me is to create different structures where things automatically will become organized, because that's where you automatically put things back, and then things stay organized. So it's like to create systems for things, no matter what those things are. Let's move on to the shop, because I was thinking about, when it comes to organizing, this is a project that I created. It's right here behind me, actually right there, if you can see it. And I'm going to pause this right now. This was a project that I would say is not the way to organize something. I created this when I first set up this little shop here, with the idea of cramming as many things into this thing as possible. And there was a lot of things I wanted to get in there. You can see I have stuff on the sides. I have like holders, I have drills, I just have a lot of different things. And it looks really good for 5 seconds. And it is something that I regret doing a lot of things with that build. And that's kind of the thing, right? Once you kind of create things over time, you learn what's going to work and what's not going to work. I think I was a little over ambitious with the amount of stuff I wanted to keep in here. Like, I wanted to keep the shop vac and the air compressor, which is like totally reasonable things. But I measured things too specifically. Oh, by the way, there's actually a free plan for this. No, not this one. There's a plan for this project on the website if you're interested. But this is a very basic construction. Oh, by the way, I love using just glue and like nails when it comes to constructing something like that. I think that is really great. But trying to fit too many things too closely is never really a good idea. There's a lot of things that I like about this project. I mean, it is made in plywood, it's relatively straightforward. It's a true shop project in that sense. It has casters, and let's see here are the things that I was trying to keep on the sides. Tools that I wanted to fit inside this cart. Small space, let's cram as much as we possibly can onto here. And in some situations you can do that, right? It works pretty great. And having organized drawers and drawers organized like here makes a big difference as well. And this, stayed nice for 2 seconds, and now it's kind of like over, like too much. There's too much stuff in there. But that's okay. What really kind of bums me out are these organizers on the side of the cart. Like, what made me think that putting things on a moving cart was a good idea? Things just fall off. This little thing right here, though, the leather holder for general tools, it's great. Love things for general tools, where you can bring things in and out. So this project, I don't know, I would give it a 5 out of 10 in terms of how well it has held up over time. So it looks so clean right there, and it did initially, but then that's the problem with just stuff over time, right? You just cram too much into things and it doesn't really work out, and everything on the side have actually fallen off. All of that stuff right there, nothing is staying on there anymore. So yeah, and it's not the best design. So moving on to another project, which is also a shop cart, but this time let's move into the world of the big shop and CNC. And here I have some ideas for what the perfect shop furniture should be. I must have moved beyond a little bit. Let's see. So for this situation now, I wanted the piece to be practical, smartly designed. I mean, it's like, duh, you want it to be smartly designed, right? Utilizing scrap materials, which I always try to do whenever I can. And no pointy knobs or handles. Okay, oh my God, let me talk about this point for a minute. If it's one thing that I find more frustrating than any other thing, is knobs that your clothes get stuck on, that your pockets get stuck on. I have had so many pockets like rip because you get stuck on things. So I think that in this situation there are two perfect ways to avoid that, to having your, like in terms of building shop furniture, right? It's either creating like negative space, so holes in different ways so you can bring your hands in and open drawers in that sense, or it's like leather knobs, like leather handles, that kind of thing that just don't get stuck on your hands. I think those are really by far the best choices for shops where you're moving around quickly. You don't want to get stuck on your pockets. Okay, let's move on. I also wanted there to be specific spaces for specific tools. Yes, I mean, that is the base point of what I'm trying to accomplish here, right? No stuff hanging on the outside of the cart, because this was after that first cart and I was finding it so frustrating. So that was kind of like a main point, because if you want to move a cart around, don't put stuff on the outside of it, even though it may look very organized. So yeah. And I see Whiskey here says, I love how you incorporate leather into your works, looks so clean. And I must say, I love incorporating leather, especially into organizing, especially into tools, because it is so malleable, it's so easy, it's so strong, and it looks good, but it's also, you know, it works really well. Okay, I want to put casters on this wheel, I mean on this, obviously if you want to move something, and if casters, a handlebar. I had a point there. And that's another point that I think makes a lot of sense when you're building shop furniture. Why put casters on something if you're not going to put a handlebar? And then nice but not too precious. And I feel like that's kind of my philosophy when it comes to building things in general. That kind of is for like home stuff too. Like I hate when things are too precious. Like you're supposed to be able to use stuff, right? Yeah. Too much stuff. Is that Swedish for get more stuff? I don't follow. Hi from Sydney, Australia. Hello. Let's move on. So I am going to this shop cart right here is for right here. Okay, so look at this picture here. It's kind of messy, and this was for the CNC stuff. So, well, not just CNC stuff, but it was supposed to sit right there. And right now you can see that I have a hose reel on the side on the wall there, which was kind of in the way. So I was thinking it would be kind of cool to incorporate the hose reel inside the cart. Very smart, right? Because then you can move your cart and move your hose reel. I thought it was brilliant. So there's a couple of different things that I want to keep in this cart. And of course, we're going to use the CNC this time to cut this. And this is this project is available on my website for free. If you want to look, if you want to get these plans, if you have, you know, a CNC to use, you can go and download these plans if you like. So basically, I just cut up the files, and of course, the benefit of cutting things on the CNC like this is that your joinery is built in, right? Really nice, things clicking together. I love when things click together. And I think this is an excellent use of it, especially for like shop furniture like this. And if you wanted to, you can batch these out. So really cool. So here you see the basic kind of construction. I'm gonna use drawer slides, and that's another thing. If you are creating stuff for the shop and you're going to abuse these drawers and open them and close them a million times, then drawer slides are really nice, right? At least I think so. I have a couple of other ideas I want to talk about with the drawers later on, but here you can see the piece now. It has casters, it has some drawers, and on the back here now I'm going to attach the hose reel on, and that's kind of a nifty little feature. And there's space for, what do you call it? The compressor on the side. And when I look at this space here, I think pretty good planning. There's enough space to move around and take things out, but it's not crazy where you get frustrated. Then, of course, we have small storage here because you have a lot of bits. This is a cabinet for CNC stuff, so bit storage is kind of a main thing, right? Now, bit storage is relatively easy, right? You just kind of need to create holes, and then you can store your bits in a precise way. And it's kind of dividers. You know, drawers is always kind of a thing, whether or not drawers is a good thing or a bad thing. I know that there's a lot of people who are for or against it. Let's talk about drawers in a little bit. I want to talk about this handlebar right here, because that is one thing that I love about this piece, about shop furniture in general. If you put casters on your shop furniture and you're planning on moving them around, then a handlebar is a nice feature, so you don't have to kind of hold on to the whole thing and it's awkward and you don't really get a good grip. handlebar is really, really great. I really like that. Easy to move around. So here you can see the basic cart. Very basic, but like not too fussy, not too organized, if you know what I mean. Not things hanging off the sides where they're gonna fall off. And there's drawers, and there's stuff organized within the drawers. So and I kind of gathered another video here that also is related to drawers, because drawers is something that I think I love drawers, and I also dislike drawers a lot. No, I think I like drawers more than I dislike them, really. I do like how drawers becomes something that you can hide things, and the key being you have to organize your drawers so you know where things are. Otherwise they just become a dark hole and you forget what you have in your drawers. Now, the thing about drawers that I think I think drawers get a bad reputation because things get lost in drawers, because the drawers are too large. In an ideal world, you have many more drawers, and the drawers, like here, I love this project. And see how thin the drawers are? Of course, this used a massive amount of plywood, but it has a lot of thin, narrow drawers, which means that you can organize things rather well. They have a space to go, and this plan is available on the website as well, if you're interested. But this is all kind of featuring the same construction as the other shop card in terms of construction, in terms of like the joinery, how they fit together. Now, look at this picture. If you are making a million drawers, then if you want to have drawer slides, you know drawer slides are not cheap. Drawer slides get rather pricey and finicky to install. I love drawer slides for some things. And if you have if you have an endless life supply of drawer slides, I would just use them. But that was not the case here, so I opted for wooden drawer slides. Mike is wondering here if I label the drawers, and really should label these drawers. It's one of those things that I was thinking about but haven't gotten around to, and I kind of know where things are, but every now and then I forget. And yeah, in general, yes, I labeled my drawers, but not this one. It's also kind of based on the design. See, this is a good design in terms of the negative space that I was talking about before. I love that for shop furniture, and this is it's nice for that. Now, wooden drawer slides. I really love the concept of wooden drawer slides, and see, this actually works really well because these were done on the CNC machine, so it was all very precisely cut. Where the spaces for these wooden drawer slides were cut on both sides of the plywood for the carcass where the drawer will go, and then the wood was grooved out on the drawers on the outside, so they just kind of fit in there. They slide in there, the drawers. Let's see if I have a better shot of it here. The one thing about wooden drawer slides is that it works, but it's also like a little creaky. They can get stuck a little bit, so it's not the best for everyday drawers that you open all the time, but it's an excellent option in terms of creating a more organized space, because you can, in terms of having a more organized space. And I have so much stuff just accumulates. I don't know where all the stuff comes from. It just has kind of gathered, and you don't want to get rid of anything either, right? Or at least you need most of this stuff, or you will need it in the future, right? Relating to materials and tools and just things that you need in the shop. Well, a lot of stuff like that, you need a lot of drawers. And in order for things not to get messy, you need thin drawers, and a lot of them. And in order to not spend a fortune, wooden drawer slides is a good option, because it just works. I mean, you get the job done in a cheap way. And I'm doing this on the CNC, but I'm going to show a way I did it another time where I didn't use the CNC, so you don't have to have a CNC. You want to wax the drawer slides, both the grooves on the side of the drawers and the wooden slides, and you want to use mineral oil wax polish, like we have in our shop, and you want to, that doesn't cure, but you want to keep putting that on every now and then, because you don't want things to get stuck, and sometimes you kind of have to wiggle things a little bit to make sure that they go in and out, which works too. Let's see. Yeah, that was the end of that video. That project has been really good because there's been so many different things that have like worked out about it, and just having that amount of storage has been great. Now, when I'm thinking about shop, like, I'm just gonna go back to the screen for a moment. I've been playing around with this OBS software. I have quite the control screen going here. It's really fun. I have loaded up some different things that I want to talk about. But I was thinking about, people have this distinction between shop, workshop, and home. And a couple of years back, I was working on what I called makerspace, and that was supposed to like bridge the gap between the workshop and the home. And here I made a bunch of videos related to this workshop space, and this was back in Oregon. But here you can kind of see it, what the idea was. This is what I wanted to build. In between, this was my space. So I had, this was my dining room, and I had kind of really, this was like the wall where I was gonna make this happen. And what was this, you may ask? Well, it was the idea was to create a clean kind of workspace to make it even easier to do more work at home, right? Or to have like, I'm a big believer in natural flow. And if you don't have things set up, if you don't have spaces for where work naturally occurs, then it won't happen. And I also very much believe in multiple workspaces, especially if you are multiple people in the family. Everybody needs to have their own space to be able to go somewhere. So this was an attempt to create more workspaces. And so what I really wanted to do here was create like, yeah, here you can see this was like my living room, and then I was gonna have a makerspace, and this was what it looked like beforehand. Just kind of a big mess, like like liquor bottles and storage, and I figured this would be better used as a makerspace where I could just do a lot of indoor work and 3D printing and just stuff like that. I created more curtains so I could block off the space because I wanted privacy. And there were a lot of different parts to this project, and I've been thinking about which parts of this project I really liked. Oh, look at Darwin, he's so cute. So this was the upper cabinet, and this was kind of a way to fill the space, to utilize all the space, and these were going to have doors. And this is probably one of the things that I liked the least in many ways about this project, these upper shelves. Like here, I don't know, after making them, I always felt they were kind of awkward. Like, you want to cram as much storage as you can into things, but then, I don't know, things also have to work out. I was going to have cabinets on the sides here. Cabinets I always think are kind of tricky. It's just like a way to hide things and store things, and you don't quite, I don't know. When I look back on this project, I think about that there was one part that I loved, or two parts that I loved. I loved the counter. That was absolutely gorgeous. And then I loved this part right here. This part, let's see where we are. This is the part right here. Look at all those drawers. Those are drawers for the little file cabinet. So let me just back up a little bit here. So I'm making the same kind of wooden drawers on here. I'm doing a point right here on the sides of, like a groove on the sides of the drawers. And look at all those drawers. These are box jointed, I believe they were, and they are rather narrow. Because one thing I think is that narrow drawers are the best when it comes to organization, especially when you want to have a good overview of things. Of course, deeper drawers can be really handy at times, but if you want to, especially if you want to store drawing materials, paper, you know, stuff like that, too deep is not a good idea. So the idea here was to create almost like a file cabinet that had a lot of drawers, and there were these I did the same thing with. I created wooden drawer slides. Let's see if I had a section on how for these I just kind of used a block when I connected them to get them to the right part. Because that's the one thing that's tricky about wooden drawer slides. You need things to line up in the right way, because if they don't line up, that's when you're gonna have an issue. So here are all my, what do you call them? Little pieces of wood. the wooden drawer slides. I mean, that here they are, and I'm just kind of preparing them a little bit. And then I'm going to connect them onto the sides of the cabinets, of the carcass, right here. And so, yeah. Now, Whiskey here has, I wonder, because I live in Alaska, if the wood would swell up, because I don't keep my shop heated until I get out there and do a project. You know, wood movement is always tricky, right? And when I was in Oregon, I didn't really have too much issue. Now I'm in Virginia and it's super humid. If you have, like, if wood movement and swelling is an issue, when it comes to wooden door slides, that might actually be an issue, because it's such a sensitive thing. So, you know, using a little bit of a block plane here to bring them up. But look at this, look how gorgeous that is, going in and out like that. A great way to create a lot of drawers, rather efficiently, and not spending too much money on doing it either. Let's see, I just want to show a complete kind of picture of this, because I just love the hardware and everything. And on this one, I had labels in the middle, so I labeled them all. So that worked out really nicely. And then I had like a little secret kick thing where I brought out the drawer underneath, because I wanted it to look like molding, so it was more integrated. So that was a nice part. That was really this piece of furniture stayed we're in the house when we moved. I wish I could have brought this one with us, because it was really, really great. Now let's see what everything looks like in the end. Yeah. Just kind of, I did a, what do you call it? I did, what do you call it? Blackboard label, blackboard paint on the wall behind me, which I don't even know why I did that. I thought I was going to write. I hate the idea of blackboard walls, actually. I prefer to make nice blackboards, and I think those are the greatest thing to have around. When it comes to blackboard walls, I think they're not always the greatest. They're not that useful. The surface is not treated right behind. But anyway, the space in general turned out really nice. We moved quickly after finishing the space, so I didn't really get to enjoy it too much. But that's the way it goes sometimes, right? But I love the idea of a makerspace, I have to say, because the idea of a makerspace, right, is that you normalize creating things in your home. But what I think I like about it more than anything is have good workspaces inside your house. I think in an ideal world, you have so many workspaces for different things. You have tables and stations set up for different things, so you don't have to start from scratch every time you want to sit down and do electronics, or you want to sew something, or you want to, fix something. It's already set up for you. And I like the idea of a makerspace like that, because if you have a family, for example, it normalizes using it. It's not this private, it's not like the workshop, which can be this kind of very private space that nobody is allowed to walk into. Oh my God, don't put a glass of water on my saw stop, The makerspace is a more like friendly place where people can come and use it, and it's part of the home. So I really like it from that point of view. This makes me think of another concept that I very much dislike, and that is the concept of open floor plans. Anybody have any ideas or thoughts on open floor plans? Because it seemed to be everybody, all the houses lately have been designed with open floor plans. I think it's the worst idea ever. I hate open floor plans. I wish our house had less of an open floor plan. I think distinctive spaces with walls and doors. I mean, some open areas are obviously nice, but who thought it was a good idea to have a kitchen look out over the dining room or the living room? So people are watching TV and you're trying to cook and everybody's in everybody's way. I much prefer to have separate sections. I mean, I can see the point of being able to kind of interact with people or see what's going on, but from a productive point of view, from trying to do things, if you want to work on things, play with things, do a puzzle, I don't know, cook things for real, it gets smoky and just a little pet peeve of mine. I'm not into open floor plans. it's not really on the topic of organization. But let's go over some. Let's see, what was I thinking? In terms of storing stuff, I have some pictures here that I kind of wanted to go over. Let's see, I have been messing around with the software here. Sometimes things don't really work as you hope. Let's see, there we go. Okay, so I was thinking about the concept of bookcases, you know, talking about like in terms of building stuff for your home and organizing things. I think one of the things that bookcases, the problem, because I built a lot of built-ins at this point, and I think built-ins are really great in terms of from a couple of point of views. So in terms of organizing, you know, getting as much storage space as possible, especially when it comes to books. Not always very practical maybe to have like shelves at the very top unless you have a ladder, which we have here, so that's really useful. But when it comes with the Tony here is telling me that he also agrees about having walls with high energy costs. It also keeps heat in, and that is a great point. If you want to section off areas of your house that you don't necessarily use, you can do that. Actually, when I grew up, we lived in an old house. It was built in like 1912. I loved that house. I think that's what made me really love old things. But we had like a living room, dining room, kind of office area with doors, and we closed those doors, and that space was only open during the winter for special, like for the weekend, or for if there was a special occasion or anything like that. Otherwise, we closed those doors because it was so much to heat up that whole space. And we kept, you know, our main living and our bedrooms, our kitchen, little TV area, that was kept open all the time. The old houses tended to not have, you know, open floor plans as much. There were so many more rooms. And then people got all sick of these cramped spaces, and they want to blow out all the walls and they go in the other direction. People go crazy in whatever direction they go in, right? Now, back to bookcases. So, I love bookcases. I love built-ins. And I love because it also increases the design of a space, right? It draws your eye up, you utilize all the space, it looks really good. But one thing that I think that people often do, for example, is that they create bookcases that are too deep. If you actually want to store books, and this is the key, right? How many people build bookcases because they actually want to store books? A lot of people, I would say, build bookcases because, I'm trying to pause this, because they want to store, I don't know, vases and pretty things, which is fine, but I like bookcases for books. And when you think about the depth of a book, it's not that deep. So, for example, like here, we have built bookcases and they're rather narrow. My friends like books turning pages, they say. I went with Kindle years ago. Actually, I like Kindle too. I've become kind of a Kindle converter once I realized that I could hook it up to my library account and I read a lot of books that way. But I still love books, and I love the idea of having a library and having classics and going back to them. I never really buy new books very much in a hard copy. I love library sales and old books and stuff like that. And of course, you collect books and you need to organize them somehow. Now, what I realized is that whenever possible, just create more narrow bookcases. It's going to use less material if you use plywood, for example, and there's really no reason to make them very deep, unless you want to like double stack books, and what's the point of that? Makes me think about people who, I know a lot. Some people like to feature books from a design point of view, and they like to turn the spines inwards, so they don't know what they have. I mean, what's the deal with that? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Or color organize them. So you have your blue section and your red section, not your history and your economics and your fiction section. Anyway, sidetrack. Okay, so I just wanted to give like a concept here that you can have narrow shelves and then you can bring out a section, like here, for example. See how we brought out a section for the things that needed more space, the stereo and like TV and stuff like that. And there you get that deeper like bookcase, but then it goes in again on the sides. And anyway, when I look at these pages, when I look at these pictures, it makes me think too how being able to build stuff yourself is the greatest thing, because look how the speaker is integrated into that, and you kind of become blind of looking at your own things. But you can't buy that in a store, right? Making things is just the best. Yeah. And Mike here says, I like those big books, coffee table books. Yes, I agree. And then you can create a section, like a base section for deeper books. I bet all your books are probably not that thick. Maybe some books are, and that's fine. But you can definitely like create separate sections for that. Oh, here's another corner bookcase I have in my dining room. I just went around here taking pictures in my house, trying to think about things that I like to highlight my point. There's Darwin in the picture, and there's Spider-Man sitting on one of the shelves. But this is a great little corner bookcase, like an awkward little space where you like, I don't know, kind of weird. There's molding on the bottom, but this like weird little corner curving bookcase works really great there. So perfect. Oh, in terms of narrow bookcases. Okay, I did not clean for this picture, it's a little messy, but this is our pantry, one of our pantry storages, and from the point of view of narrow storage, not making things too deep. Look, we have, this is also like a weird, awkward space, like a hallway, and you can see here how narrow these shelves are. They are just, deep enough to store cans, so they can hold a lot of stuff. So I really like that. Narrow shelves, thin drawers, stuff like that, I think is underrated when it comes to creating things. Let's see what other pictures have. Oh, just a reminder to add lighting wherever you can. This was the floating shelf project that came out not too long ago. Just like we have lighting in the living room too, and it's just such a nice point where you don't realize how dark the space is before you add that kind of accent lighting, and then you just love it. It looks really great. And all you need to add lighting to a bookcase is not a whole lot. I mean, you need a switch and wire, and you need a power source, and you can wire them together, and it's not that difficult, and you get such a great result from it. Oh, I wanted to bring a picture of what the living room looked like before we built the bookcases. That's just when we first kind of moved in, and see how there's a fireplace in the corner there, and then I just have like the TV. The whole space looks kind of I don't know, smaller, not so big. And then here is kind of the bookcase on the over the fireplace. I guess where people normally would put a TV, but I don't know, the bat cave, is that what you're talking about behind the corner bookcase there? But just like that's a thing, I think. If you have the option to utilize weird spaces to custom build things is not that difficult. It's something that I think can be intimidating to many people, but it's really just measuring and putting plywood up and building something to those specifications, right? Not that difficult, not that tricky. So it really can make a space very, very different, right? And really make it much better. Now, let's go to tool walls. Okay, this was a project that no longer exists in this form because I built an office in this space here. So this was a kind of a tool wall that I created when we first moved in here for like a power tool wall. There's a lot of craftsman stuff there because I was doing stuff with craftsman at the time. But it was just the idea was to hold like battery tools, compressors, that kind of thing. So I kind of built this this kind of section here. I painted or stained the back a terrible color, which I later regretted. But here I wanted to, okay, so this is great storage, I think. Here I'm creating these rather common, these rather basic like holders for drills and things like that with this very basic design. And actually these I'm still using. I'm just using it in a different space. Let me lower that low. I kind of disassembled it, but I love this general idea. I think this is a really good concept in terms of being like drills. Excellent example of something that's not going to hang, that might not last you too long. You may go through a couple of drills. Some things break right? So you don't want to create exceptionally custom storage for things that you might not, you know, be having too much longer. Oh, and this is when I got so sick of that back wall, and I decided to cut some strips and make like a wooden wall instead, because I just hated that color. And it actually turned out much better with that kind of wall. And then I added a bunch of storage, battery storage and things like that. But my favorite part of this whole thing is definitely that drill storage right there, and that I've actually repurposed, yeah, in a different space of the shop. But in general, like this kind of thing. You have relatively narrow shelving, and yeah, space for a variety of things, like some battery chargers. For a small shop with a smaller tool collection than what I have now, I think this is a pretty good design. Works pretty well. And you can use like scrap plywood to create a lot of this stuff. It's always nice to use scrap plywood, right? When you want to use things. Now what video I had queued up? Oh! Hand tool storage. Okay, this was here I wanted to take all of my hand tools, so chisels, planes, saws, that kind of thing, and create a tool wall. I love tool walls. They're the best, right? Look at all those tools that I was looking to organize in different ways. So one of my favorite things is, yes, remove the tools. So look here, that's the first step to creating this kind of stuff, I think, is just to start off like clean, right? And then add wood so you have something to grip onto. Okay, like personally, in terms of visually, I'm not like, I don't care specifically about like accent walls and things like that in wood. It's fine. But why I love accent walls is because it gives you, you know, the possibility to screw in anywhere, and that's the greatest, especially when you are creating a tool wall, right? Because then you can connect things wherever you want. And I love that. I wish all of my walls were made out of plywood or you know, that kind of thing. So here, I'm kind of like, what I like to do is just kind of lay out my tools, see what do I have, what do I need to figure out here. So for the hand planes, I just kind of created basic shelf with the blocks in the back, so that there is like layering, right? So that you can think, you kind of like a little step, right? This one turns out great. I really like this one. And then a similar shelf underneath. And here actually is really beautiful oak for these shelves. You may use a surprising amount of wood, like a lot of wood. But whatever. It was nice towards the contrast of the white. These shelves, all of this stuff is actually in the main shop right now. This was done in Oregon. But brought that with me because I love these things. And here like little engineering square holders. So things can, and then little magnets. Magnets are great, right? When you want to kind of make tools stick to a holder. So not that you can't remove them, but they just kind of have that, they slide in and they stay in. Really nice. I love neodymium. Yeah, the little magnets. Okay, mallet holder, hammer holder. This is a great design too, because it works really well and it is very universal. So whether or not you have, you know, you're gonna change stuff around later on, you'll still be able to use this. So here you can see the basic design. It's just a block of wood with stuff like material removed to keep the holders in. Now, saw, tricky. How do you hang saws in I mean, there's lots of different ways. This is a really simple. Look at this, dowels like this on a piece of wood. I know a lot of people like to do saw, kind of where you do the holder of the saw and you have a piece where, I mean, that's fine too, just not very versatile in terms of moving stuff around. You're kind of stuck with that design. You're stuck with that saw, which may not be a bad thing. You may never change that saw if it's a nice saw. But this worked pretty good. The only thing, like you can see here, the only thing that's not great about this design is that you have to remove the outside saws to get to the inside saws. But, you know, not really a big deal. I don't actually mind this design at all. I think it's pretty good. Now, chisel holders. Okay, now we come back to the leather. Okay, chisel holders are always kind of like chisels are sharp, right? That's kind of the problem with chisel holders, or chisels in general. So here I wanted to create like a little pocket for the chisels themselves to fit into, so that they would be protected. You wouldn't accidentally like slide, you know, go with your hand and accidentally cut yourself as you were grabbing something else. So drilled like little holders here, and added some leather, and actually dyed the leather here, which so it's like this chisel holder kind of has two parts. It has a part where the handle slips in, and then the chisel part slips at the bottom. So, and then it's just connected. So that worked out pretty good. Now let's start from scratch, right? I always love this. Okay, so you have a blank wall, and then you're gonna bring everything onto that wall, and it's such a transformation from being really messy to just getting these organized holders. And they look good, and then they get filled with tools one after another. We'll just enjoy this moment for a second where everything just gets organized. Very nice. Look at that. Oh, I love that. I was thinking one thing that I really like about creating stuff for your creating holders for your tools and for things is, I mean, there's a couple of reasons, right? I mean, obviously it organizes things. It creates like a home for things, which is always nice. But then it also frees up mental space, because instead of you getting kind of annoyed all the time, frustrated because things are out of order, you can't find something, it's just like messy. When you have kind of put the effort and the time towards creating a system, and that's what you're doing, right? You're creating a system, no matter what it is that your system is for. It just frees up your headspace, right? Because there is a clarity, and there is a order to things. And then once you've used something, you know exactly where you should put it back. So things tend to stay more organized when they first were not organized, right? Like, for example, let's take some look at some pictures currently from, I just was walking around before taking pictures. So here's some pictures of the shop. And for example, here we have some battery charging battery chargers, and previously I had a lot of chargers all over the place, like plugged into different battery, like different outlets, and they were kind of a big mess. So just like the idea of gathering things that belong to each other or that are like next to each other. So if you have several battery chargers, create a little room or a little area where they all kind of fit next to each other. The other thing to keep in mind is like this function part. So you put battery charges together, and when you initially put it on this board, you think, oh, I can put them pretty close to each other, I can fit more in. You forget about the fact when you're going to take these batteries in and out of those chargers, these are actually like a little bit too close. So if you're not careful, you will hit the other battery when you take one out, or you have to move one thing to get to another thing. And that is something like, I think that sometimes we can get a little over ambitious with how much we can fit in one area, right? Like we think that we have a lot of, like, it's appealing, right, to get super organized and try to be like, I don't know, cram as much as possible into a small space. You feel very efficient, and that's really great, but not in a real sense. When it comes to actually using it, it's not that great anymore, because it becomes too frustrating. You need a little wiggle room, you need a little airspace around things. You can't have things too tight, or it just gets frustrated. Let's see. Oh, here's a little drill bit cabinet that I made a long time ago, and here's another little example. So this cabinet was just for drill bits. So I love that idea. Little things, like specific things for specific holders for specific things, right? So you have little holders for drill bits, and then we have these little block holders on the top shelf there. Block holders like that, which are just blocks of wood where you drill holes in them, and they're great for holding drill bits. And they're also great for pencils and things like that. I have a bunch of them all over the place. Let's see. What do you call it? Clamp storage. I actually saw somebody wrote a clamp comment before that their clamps are a mess. There's lots of great ways to make clamp organization, right? This is pretty basic, just like plywood, and they're like they slide in. It's been working pretty good. The only like slightly frustrating part I think is sometimes you have a clamp at the way bottom that you need to grab, and you have to remove all the clamps, and clamps are heavy, you know, clamps are heavy. But anyway, oh, here we have oh, I'm sorry, I'm just figuring out this stuff here. Here we go. This is the this is one of my favorite things ever. This is the electronic station, and I actually have another picture that I want to go over later on here. But this is small parts organization. Okay, we're gonna actually go back to small parts organization a little bit. I have so much to talk about, and I realize I'm almost been on for an hour, so I might have to wrap this short. Let's see. Oh, another small kind of things. I love these kind of, I love things that are small. The problem with this thing right here is that the labeling system leaves a little bit to be desired, and it's not super clear what's in each drawer. So that's always kind of a tricky thing when you have a lot of small things so you know what you are storing. Like if it's a space where you yourself interact with it all the time, you know by heart what's inside those drawers, right? But if you don't, that might be tricky. Okay, here are all those, it's kind of a little bit of a blurry picture, but here are a lot of those tool storage that was in that other video. This is in the dark gray room now, the office, and I love the oak and the leather. This is what I love about these kinds of things. They become like little pieces of artwork, right? But look at them. All of these organizational things are actually rather universal. You can move things around, and there's also this, if you can see kind of in the middle there, there's the hammer storage, which is a beautiful piece. Where you can slip in hammers and mallets and things like that, smaller ones. But if you use a little bit of nice wood for, although any kind of wood really against the background pops. But you can really see these have held up great. Gotten so much use out of them, and it doesn't really matter what tools you have. You can change the tools out over time, and it still works out really well. Here is a new piece right here. Okay, I made a little video about Japanese chisels not too long ago, and here you can see they're like on a little magnet board right here, and right next to the chisels on the board there's also a cheese knife that I was just transforming into a leather knife. And then we have just some little hammers and things like that. But this is an example of how I really love a wooden board from the point of view that you can, nail things in and secure things everywhere and kind of make it like little artwork pieces, right? And I just love the oak against it like that. So that looks really good. Oh, here we have the drill piece repurposed. That whole battery, that whole battery tool wall has been like, there's one part upstairs in the shop, one part downstairs. I reuse some of the plywood. It's been disassembled, but this thing right here still works great. Holding all the individual like drills and jigsaws and things like that. Oh, this is just like wood and leather storage. Just a reminder too, like this is like a closet, to use weird spaces for stuff like that. This is a lot of oak flooring that I'm either gonna turn into a floor or like it's like good wood for a lot of different things. So I don't know. Okay, here we go. Wood storage. Wood storage I think is always kind of tricky. This is not ideal. It works. I mean, these are racks, and then we have bungee cords because things kept falling out. It's really not ideal. It's a bit of a mess. I feel like this area could definitely be improved. Small parts, different sizes, different kinds of wood. Here, very basic. Wrenches. This is by the CNC machine because you use wrenches all the time. And so it's kind of nice to be able to see them, access them. That's one thing that I think about a lot, is whether or not to keep things like secured in boxes. And that's often like a nice option, right? To keep things in boxes where you keep, your hand tools in a box, you bring them out when you want to work on them. And I don't mind that until you forget about them, which you might if you don't touch them for a while, which is fine. Or to keep things on the wall. I guess a box is really nice if your workspace is not. You may move around a little bit or go to different places or want to bring your tools with you, then a nice box is really great. Or if it's something you bring out for special occasions, you have some carving knives, for example. Hi, Alexis from India! And Mike says here, label for drawers, first finger right hand, second finger left hand. unless you use battery tools regularly, you shouldn't leave the batteries on the tools. Yeah, well, that's true. That is a good point. You shouldn't do that. Move them out when they have been recharged. But I also kind of just like them sitting all there, so you know that they are charged. Kind of I always seem to overcharge my batteries. Really shouldn't do that. Let's see. Oh, that was okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about small things in general. And actually, let's see. Remember I was talking about organizing like blocks? Here, for example, is like a little office organizer. Just a block of wood and holes drilled for pencils, and then a pencil sharpener attached to that board. And it's really the greatest. It's very simple, and there's also like a little free space. This is the key point, I think. It is very easy to want to like overstuff your spaces again, but to leave a little bit of open space for your eraser, your ruler, things like that, I think is it's always kind of nice. And here it's a similar thing, just a block of wood and different drill bits. Great if you have a block of wood and you want to use it for something. Oh, and just like I love these little leather valets, I call them too. I make them and I keep them around for various things, and they're great for sorting things and organizing things. And when it comes down to it, right, having either trays or crates or little holders, little bowls for things, it's all about grouping things, right? It's about sorting things. And not having them lie all over the place. You can have a huge mess, but if the mess is contained in various spaces where you have one type of mess next to another type of mess. Yeah, I love the Blackwing. I collect Blackwings. I have a lot of Blackwings. Always looking for new Blackwing. Oh, Blackwings are pencils, by the way. They're the best pencils. Okay, this was talking about small parts. Okay, this was back in Oregon. And this is in the shop right now, but this was the electronic station. And there's actually two parts to this picture, which is kind of cool. It's the cabinet on the wall, and there's the cabinet on the let's start with the wall. And you can see here they're kind of narrow shelves again. And what is the material, you may ask? It's MDF. Now MDF kind of gets a bad rep, right? I actually really like MDF for certain things, not all things, but for storage like this. I like to use, this was before this was finished. Okay, so this is the small parts electronic system. Again, where are the labels? There are no labels. So often I go through all of the drawers trying to find what I'm looking for. That could be improved. But basically there are a lot of little drawers, and they're perfect for, you know, little lights, resistors, little batteries, things like that. And it just looks really great. And I really love MDF. And you kind of like, especially if you put shellac on it or something, it creates this rather interesting finish, much darker than this color right here. I think I have, here you go. Easy to assemble, easy to cut, you know, kind of a mess like in terms of dust, but in general, like cheap and for certain things, really great. Here, just, you know, connected these with a little glue and a nail gun, you know, and they have held up great. And here, working on just adding shellac to all of them, which darkens the colors dramatically and adds a nice protective finish. So that is really a nice concept in the terms of, like, in terms of material. If you're looking for a reasonable material for certain things. Hello from UCLA, upper corner of Lower Alabama. Hi, Mark. So anyway, I have a photo here too. Like this was before they were finished, but I love this concept. The other thing I really love about this, see the how there is like what do you call it? A protective MDF area on top of the desk with a little lip on both sides. Okay, you work with electronics, things fall all over the place. It's really kind of a mess. This, having kind of a tabletop like this, which you can get rid of, you can replace it eventually. And then there's actually a beautiful mahogany counter, mahogany desk underneath there. But it's really great. So just like a little MDF appreciation post here. This almost feels a bit like a doll's thing. I saw a similar version of this somewhere else, and I decided to make my own because I thought it was so cute. Do I still use the same electronic station soldering filter? No, I switched out the filter many times. Let's see. So this little part right here has little drawers with a hardwood, and this was MDF as well, painted. MDF paints really well. So like miniature little organizational furniture with little hooks and a little shelf, and I just love the way it came out. It's so cute. I used it and it got overstuffed in 2 seconds, so in a practical sense, maybe not the best. So, you know what? My time is up. I had more prepared, but I think I'm gonna save that for another day. This was so much fun. Yeah, lots to talk about, lot to go over. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. Please continue if you have any more tips or thoughts or anything like that. I think I got most of the comments. Something may have slipped through. If so, I apologize. If so, if there's a question and I missed it, please write it in the main comment under this video and I will get to it eventually. It's difficult getting out, looking at all the comments and trying to manage your content at the same time. Anyway, thanks so much for hanging out with me. Let me know if you have any other thoughts about this. Oh, also, let me know. I have been playing around with the live streams now. This is my 3rd one. I've been doing it different times. This is the first time I'm doing it at night because people seem to be interested in night live streams, and I really wanted to start doing this, becoming a weekly thing. And I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, weekday like 6 o'clock. Let me know if that is a pretty good time. I hope it's gonna work out. I think it's gonna work out pretty good. So yeah. Thanks